conference, record to the cloud.
Yeah,
Is
now
it, now it's recording. Okay. So, okay.
Okay.
So we
have
should
minutes.
just acknowledge the tech issue, and
Yeah.
we got the recording started now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so far, the order of business has been approval of previous minutes, director report, and then a discussion of reopening in compliance with COVID safety. That's just for the record. I see Michelle, and then I'd like to put myself in the queue for a question. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, my question was
Michelle,
related.
sorry.
Oh, did you have your hand raised too, Michelle?
I didn't raise my hand. You go. I had a question, but I didn't raise my hand. Go ahead.
Okay, so my question was related to the director's report when you were talking about.
We lost you.
Be frozen, Michelle.
All right, I'll go until Michelle unfreezes. I'm just wondering about the carpet. Is there a carpet?
Carpet.
Yeah.
There's a rug.
It's a rug? Okay, I was wondering, we getting wall to wall or what?
Did I get rid of the rug?
No, I thought I saw something in the town meeting stuff about a rug for the library. Maybe they meant the school library.
Maybe the school library.
Okay.
Yes.
I was
yes.
like, whoa, we're getting a rug.
Yeah.
We get the carpet. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the school
Okay.
library.
Got it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Marianne, you asked a question. I'm not sure you were serious. I assume that if there's a rug there that needs to be there, you'll decide that. And that if there's a rug there that we really need to get rid of, I encourage you to decide that too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty, I think, a necessary change that would help our infrastructure.
All right. I could get a rug that would be easier to clean.
Yeah.
But I don't think that rugs are really where. I really think the virus, from everything I've read, it's a person to person thing that we really have to be concerned about. It's people in the building. And and by the time the virus would make it to the floor, that's not a dangerous situation for people. But I am thinking about ways to declutter the library, and have the library just have less stuff and less maintenance, because I think we've got a long time ahead of us of managing this. I don't think this is a 2-month thing.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking in terms of the air blowing and that, it's
Right.
pretty old and raunchy. I'll
So-
donate a rug.
So a couple of things occurred to me when I was reading your plan, because I agree with you that the primary means of transmission is direct person to person, and the virus doesn't seem to hang out for very long on surfaces. Nonetheless, I wonder what you're thinking about in terms of time limit for people to be in the building. Like if you do schedule appointments, which I think might be a really good idea, how long are those appointments for? Because I think you want actually to keep people moving in and out, and you do want some time in between them. And I particularly think that limiting computer usage, the time of computer usage, is going to be important. You can't have somebody sitting in there for 3 hours. If they're sick, they will shed. Even if they're wearing a mask, they're likely to shed.
Right.
So I think setting some, boundaries on that might be really important. And then, the ability to clean the computer, keyboard and screen and mouse after each patron is going to be probably really wise. And then I do worry with the rug, honestly, a little bit with kids on the floor. Because if you expel it, it will go to the ground, and if there's a heavy viral load, then I think we want to be abundantly cautious, and so I do worry a little bit about that. So, but I am not the public health expert. I would love to hear what the Board of Health thinks about these issues.
Right.
I know you're going to have them review the whole plan, but those are a couple other questions that I had.
Right, right. So they've already expressed concern about computer use, and they, and like right now, the governor's guidance is people are not allowed to come into libraries and use computers. Libraries are talking about getting laptops for outside of the library use. And I have thought some about that. You know, do we get a couple of Chromebooks that we let people use out in the parking lot? And really, we only need 2, and they don't cost very much money. So I'm thinking about that, and that the sort of those are on my sort of list of things to think about. And you know, after I get some of the pieces done. Yeah. So, okay. Melanie's had her hand up. Oh,
I see Melanie.
Hi. So I just had a question and a comment. Let's see, what was my question? Oh, my question was that during the last meeting, did you, I might be misremembering this, but did you say, Marianne, that there might be some grant money available to apply for Chromebooks?
so there was some grant money, but it came with the requirement that certain filtering software was on the Chromebooks, and so it doesn't make any sense to give an adult a computer that they can't access the information that they're looking for. So
Got it.
it's child
Okay.
protection software that schools would use.
Yep.
So so that grant is in my director report. It's the virtual programming grant, and
Okay.
I applied for the full amount, which I think was $3,500, and most of it was fitness classes and then a stress reduction series, and then story walks. So I just did, you know, our programming, our virtual programming. So
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the 2 other comments I just wanted to say, just reading your director's report is awesome. And it's just an awesome report. I've read it twice now, and it's just like clear. You're doing so much impressive work. I just feel really lucky that you're the head of the library during this time. I mean, during every time, but I mean, during this crisis. And, you know, I can see all the work that you're doing to, you know, think through all these details and, you know, work collaboratively with, you know, the trustees and everybody else that you need to work collaboratively with this on. So thank you so much. And in terms of the exhaust fan, in another life, I actually built an eco-friendly home. And one of the things about eco-friendly homes is they often have really, really tight envelopes. And so you have to have a hole in the side of the house to allow air in, and then you have to have an exhaust fan. And that Panasonic was the exact exhaust fan, that Whisper one that was used and is used, that's usually the go-to fan for like that kind of construction. And it is incredibly quiet, and it will, because Michael's right, because the library is so leaky, the air is going to come in on its own, and it will just help to circulate the air in the library, I think, quite beautifully from the experience that I've had with that fan. So I just wanted to
How
add,
does the air go? So sorry. How does the air go out?
through the fan. It's an exhaust fan.
Okay.
So it's not that the air comes in, the Panasonic pushes the air out.
Okay.
And so the air comes in through the library being old. And then the air is just pushed out. Right.
Yeah. The purpose is to exchange the air regularly, turn it over essentially, so that the virus doesn't just hang around in the air. So that's why you want, it's called like a negative airflow system, where you're pulling stuff. Clean air is just going to come in, but also it's like anything. If you have a sucking out mechanism, more air is going to come in. So it's going to speed up the exchange of air. And it's a brilliant idea. I think it's a really a great idea for us. In this time.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, any other questions, thoughts about the COVID reopening piece?
It feels like it's still in process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I feel like sort of like endorsing what Brad said earlier. These are operations. So some of them are policy. I think you could argue setting a number of people who can come in the building at once is sort of a policy matter. Setting an appointment schedule or something like that, you could think of as a policy matter, as opposed to we're going to install a ventilation system, we're going to have, you know, hand purifier by the desk, or we're going to require cleaning times in between. I feel like there's a difference, but the policy pieces are where we want to make sure that you're supported, and the operational pieces, I'm just confident that we all trust you completely, and that you'll make good decisions and that you'll call us if you need support. I feel like I'm speaking for the sense of the meeting when I say that, and I see people nodding, so.
So sorry, I got bumped off the internet and I had a hard time getting back on.
Sorry about that. We were just looking at the COVID-19 reopening guidelines. Miriam was talking us through various systems and questions, and we were asking some further questions.
I had a question, now I don't even remember what it was.
Well, this is not, as Marianne said, going to go into effect anytime immediately.
Yeah, true.
So the only other thing I would say is, if you do decide that you need us to work with you on a policy that should come from the trustees so that you're not pinned for it, like, say people don't like it, well, you're the one who actually has to deal with them. So why don't you have us set that so that people can direct their annoyance towards us instead of like putting it on you when they come in to see you. So that's primarily what I see as the usefulness of a board set policy.
Right, right.
So maybe you could just let us know when you need that. And if it's not like within the time of our regular meeting, we could call an extraordinary meeting to just set policy. Could I actually just get a sense of the meeting on that proposal that, you know, we try to make ourselves available to Marianne if she needs an extraordinary meeting relative to reopening? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. That passes. So yeah, just let us know. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're okay. I've only had one person asked to come into the building. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then anything else on COVID? Reopening?
Just one question. Marianne, I think you said this. So the governor hasn't yet approved the opening you're talking about. What you're doing is preparing for when that governor's announcement happens.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so what the Board of Library Commissioners and the Massachusetts Library System say, so these are our agencies that there are state agencies that provide guidance to libraries. What they say is, so the Jones Library just started curbside pickup today, even though they could have on May 26th. So because the governor says something can start on a certain date, it doesn't mean you have to be ready for it to start. Each library has to do what it can do. And contrary to what some people seem to think, I am only one person. I want that in the minutes, and it's being recorded. So there's, and I really am only one person at this point. I could have more people helping with things before, and it's not that nobody's helping with anything, but it's but there aren't as many things that people can help with under these circumstances, and I certainly am not going to have 70 and 75-year-old volunteers interacting with other people or spaces. Um, so, um, so, you know, so I feel like I'm doing as well as anybody could reasonably expect.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've had, you know, really pretty good ongoing services. And then we've got this COVID crisis happening, and then we've also have this national crisis around violence and, you know, deadly violence toward Black people. And it's been interesting that that people are sort of questioning the library collection and expecting the library's collection to respond to that. But then actually it does, you know. But so that, you know, so I've had to respond to that other crisis while in a crisis. And I think that I think I've done a good job with that too. And that's like, this COVID crisis is a continuing process. That's also a continuing process. So.
Here, here. I see some applause emojis from the people who know how to do that, and just plain old applause hands from others. Yeah, absolutely. All right, if it's okay, I'm going to move us on to town meeting prep. Are people ready for that?
Yes.
Excellent. Then I'm just going to put my position on the table. I think if we're challenged on this, I don't think we should fight it this year.
Because, I mean, I guess it's obvious, but
Well, I mean, I can give you my reasons. I think it's a losing political strategy. I think that we're in a recession. We're going to be in a double dip recession. It's going to persist for a long time. People are out of work. You know, millions and millions of people are out of work. I just think that if we get pushback on it, I don't know that it will serve our cause in the long term. It's a dangerous precedent, and I see that. But I think that I just think that it's not going to be helpful to the long-term prospect of unifying the town around a new library if it becomes a major bone of contention at town meeting this year. So that's just my view. I'm only one person, but I did want to just lay it out there because we're in town meeting prep. What do y'all think? Am I wrong? I often am.
you know, I hadn't thought about it, but when you say, you know, when you give that list, it makes sense. Are you thinking that it's going to be challenged? It's hard to know, I guess.
It's hard to know. It hasn't really been for a while, mostly because people lose patience with town meeting before we get to the end of the budget lines, right? Which may be even more true this year if we're outside and roasting. I guess I was just thinking about, if we're challenged, what do we stand up and say?
So if we're challenged, it will be challenged. So it will be challenged. The only way, so the $25,000 request is in the budget. And what the finance committee has done is they have balanced the budget using free cash. So basically using the town's savings account. So the budget will be challenged. And, you know, we have a new moderator. I don't know if he'll sort of do it section by section and take it line by line. I haven't looked at the budget to see where it is in the budget.
Yeah,
Uh,
I skimmed. I didn't
yeah,
find it.
but it is in the budget. So here's what I think. I think, um, I think if it's challenged and it gets, and if somebody doesn't, so there was one year not long ago where somebody called the question for the budget, with, and stopped discussion. I don't know if something like that would happen. I don't recommend that any of us do something like that. Um, but I am also not the speech police, and I don't have a right to tell you what to say or not, or what not to say. Um, uh, but um, I think we could say why we asked for it, um, and leave it at that. You know, why is this in the budget to begin with? And then sort of explain why it's there, and then we could say we understand that this is an unprecedented time, and then not qualify it any more than that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's not fighting for it. It's sort of a neutral
Right.
case.
Right.
It's not a positive case, really. I mean, the positive case has been made on our behalf by Finance Committee putting it in the budget to begin with. So yeah, I think that makes sense. All right, what do other people think?
So why is it in the budget? I mean, I know why it's in the budget, but what's the reason that we give?
Well, I would say it's the same one that we always use, that it's just like you save up, you save up for the deposit on your house, or you save up for an education for your kid if you're able to do that. We're saving up for the library, and we're continuing to try to raise money through public and private means.
I would add to that. We started the whole process of putting this year's request in months ago, before COVID-19. Life was different back then.
It was, but I don't think that's an argument for keeping it the same. I actually think that's an argument that you could use to say yes, and obviously everything's changed. So why would you keep it in the right? It's a double
Yes,
argument.
Can I be the devil's advocate and
No, it looks
say,
like Kate's frozen. Is everyone frozen?
No.
just you.
no? Okay. So, because I've thought a lot about this, because I am expecting a challenge.
And my internet's
Um,
too.
and we decided to sort of just quietly skip our big spring fundraising, because, and that was at the beginning of the crisis, and people were really distracted. And it wasn't that we were skipping it, we just sort of postponed it and planned to do it with Giving Tuesday in December, with our big challenge gift and things like that, and let people get through this initial part of this crisis without adding something for them to think about. Um, and I've thought about this, and I thought, well, we do still have a library that doesn't have running water, and and is so small that under these circumstances, it isn't safe for more than a couple of people to be in, and at this time when the collections of other libraries are not available to us, our own local collection has really shrunk, and really doesn't meet the needs of the community. Um, and so all of those things are also true. And while while I totally understand your point of view, Kate, we're not bad people for having asked for this money.
Well, that, I don't think that that was implied.
That's not my argument.
No,
No,
no, but I just have to,
Not at all.
you know,
no.
yeah,
No,
No.
we're asking for it, but we want to be ready with what our response is going to be, since
Right.
it will be
Just like
challenged.
always. Just like
Right.
always.
right.
So, Marianne, I think that what you said for as the first thing, which is that we have a library with no running water. I think that that's an especially good argument right now because of the fact that, I mean, if we're going to talk about the coronavirus, I mean, they're saying wash your hands many, many times. Well, how can you wash your hands if you don't have any running water? And so, you know, there's no, at that point, you're putting people at risk if you don't provide the kind of thing that's going to keep them from getting sick. So I think that's a good place to start.
Well, I actually think the opposite of that, because I would say that if someone says, well, we don't have running water, that would be a reason to just not even let it be open, because there's no way for people to wash their hands. So bringing up the running water issue could go either way.
I'm not sure that opening is the subject. I think the subject is with the 25,000.
That's true. It is going with the 25, but you
think it's
know
with
that
the-
if you bring up the water, though, it's a can of worms.
Well, I think it's more a positive thing for us, a statement that it's right now it's one of the biggest reasons why having COVID-19 without water is very difficult. And it's a very clear-cut issue. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do think it'll come up, and I do think, and I agree with Kate. I don't think we should argue for it, but we should just say why we asked for it, and that we still need a new library, and there will still be a future, and that we're still planning, for the future. But that we understand that these are unprecedented times.
I
And
think,
then, yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Marianne.
that's okay.
I
That's all
agree
right.
with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Ask us all
Yeah.
to remember is that we are talking, if we had a library that was $1 million cheaper than the one that we wanted to build 10 years ago, whenever it was, 8 years ago, this would be 1% of that budget. So we're talking about less than 1% of the cost of building a new library. I don't want to trade that against good political will for the library. Okay?
Right.
It's not worth it.
Right.
It's really not. That's like a tiny, tiny part of a bond that we would finance. So, especially right now, this is going to be it's going to be a tight select board election, and
Yeah.
it looks to me like there's going to be fault lines along the same lines as the previous library discussion, and I just want us to be really clear about what we're actually trading off in terms of the step towards a new library and the political will that we're going to need to get there. We don't just need money. We need political will, and we need, we don't need consensus, but we need a majority. So that's, I think it's fine to say why we asked for it. I think Marianne's messaging is good. I don't think we should go for the mat. And I think we should approach this with a spirit of humility,
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree.
And compromise.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
Let's model that for the world.
Yeah.
Can I make a little, all right, this is off topic, but it's sort of
Well,
on.
hold on a second, because I see that
Right.
Michelle is in the queue and hasn't had a
Okay.
chance to speak yet.
Sorry, I keep losing the internet. I don't know what's going on tonight. Anyway, I guess I have to agree with you, and I just feel like it's probably going to come up anyway from the same people that bring it up every year anyhow. I just hope that next year things are different enough that we won't find ourselves in the same bind. But I missed a lot of the discussion because it took me a while to get back on again. But I do agree with what you're saying, Kate. I think it makes sense. We do want political goodwill. And it is really a small amount in the big picture of things. I think we'll just have to figure out the next year based on whatever the things are that are going on in the world and in our town. So anyway.
Sorry, I see Melanie.
I just, oh, sorry about that. That was my dog. That was awful. I just wanted to add that it may not be like, if it's challenged, it might be that it's like not an all or nothing. Like we either get $25 or we get not $25,000 or we get nothing. It could be that there's a proposal to give us right part of that, right? 10,000 or 15 or right. I'm assuming, is that how it would work? Like there could be a motion to like say, okay, maybe not 25,000 this year, but maybe
There could
10,000 compromise, or I mean, not that we would push that, not that we would push that, but could.
Not too likely, I don't think.
Okay.
No, I mean, somebody would have to make a motion on the floor, and the budget is balanced, so
I
it's
see.
not,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
got it.
I think also that, I mean, the last time that the budget was being challenged, it was being challenged line by line. Remember, that was a couple of years ago. And it turned out that most people did not have the stomach for that. And so I don't think we're going to be alone in terms of making whatever case we want to make, whether it's, a conciliatory case or a, explaining case or whatever we do. I think there are going to be other people who are going to not be too much in favor of just kind of the slash and burn approach.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So, of course, there are different schools of thought out there. But so, some people say that, that they're not opposed to a new library. It was just that new library. And really the next new library will be a different financial picture because we will have so much money in the bank, and hopefully the state will come through with this pilot program that would be a higher reimbursement rate. But there are definitely still people out there who don't want any library at all. And while the 25,000 isn't a huge amount toward the cost of the building, it's also 25,000 of the town's $6.5 million budget. If that 25,000 is gone, people aren't going to really see that reflected in their tax bills.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Especially it's free cash anyway, so it's not.
Right.
It's
Right.
not going to. I think I need to wrap up because I'm just, like I said, kind of toasty. But
Yeah.
Throw
I
out.
think
Okay, go ahead, Dawn.
I'll go.
Before you leave, I want to say something.
Yeah. I promise. I just think that the only thing that we can control here is what our planned strategy is and what our messaging is. We don't know what anyone else is going to do. We don't know what actions that they're going to take. All we can think about is if X, then this is how we're going to respond. And we've sort of gotten to a place of, we'll just explain why we asked for it, say that we acknowledge that this is an unprecedented year. And there we go. Michelle, see?
Okay, so there's a house in town that I think would make a really nice library that's for sale. And I just want to throw that out. It's it's right up in town behind the town garage. It's three levels. It may need some work, but it's on the market. Well, it's about, I'm not sure if it's on the market or going on the market for $450,000. And I think that it would be a really good idea to go look at it. Mary Ann.
So the state grant is for new construction only, not an addition renovation. The pilot project grant. So, so that couldn't be used. And a house that's 3 levels. So for a public facility, you would have to have a staff person on each level. So for security
elevator.
reasons.
Or you
And
wouldn't
an
be able to
elevator.
find-
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are things to think about.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Things I don't know. You could just put your office on the top floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else before we wrap up tonight?
Next meeting?
Oh, good, Brad.
So lucky for that, Brad. Thank you. Okay.
So the next month is July. Wow. And here's a handy dandy thing
Maybe on the
here.
20th normally.
The 20th would be normal.
Fine with
Wait a minute,
me.
hold on, 20th? We actually have.
Marianne, can I just ask a question before we choose the date? What phase is it that the libraries are going to actually maybe be more fully operational? when the governor's
So,
coming?
I want to
so
insert, can you do that after we do the dates? I
No,
have
I'm
to
trying,
leave.
the reason I'm asking is impacts the date. Like, do we need to have in a meeting before that?
I think we should
No,
schedule the regular
because-
meeting, and then if something special happens, we just need to
Yeah.
put that in.
I can't do
I
the
mean-
20th.
you cannot do the 20th?
Not do the 20th.
No. How about the 27th? Because I'm not going to have that exhaust fan and the lock installed and have met, you know, like the infrastructure stuff isn't going to happen in a week. So, you know, it took 2 months to get the plexiglass up. But so the governor, he had said that people could go into libraries at phase 2, part 2.
I'm
But
sorry,
you-
folks, I've got to go. I'll see you all
Okay.
later.
27th.
So we can email it out. Does the 27th work for other people?
Works for me.
Jamie, is that your last meeting?
I don't know, but it works.
Normally it would be, wouldn't it? Because that will be, assuming that Melanie wins and I like her odds, then we would have.
I can
So
plan
actually,
on it regardless.
this is Jamie's last meeting because the election
Oh,
is, so Melanie would start the first meeting in July.
okay.
Normally town meeting is in May, and we
Right.
have a couple of meetings
That's right.
before.
That's right.
Yeah. so-
Well, shoot, then I would have done a thing if I had realized that, like a virtual ice cream or something to thank you for your services. We're so glad to have Melanie with us, but we still get to miss you. It's been great to have you. It really has,
Oh,
Jamie.
thanks. I've enjoyed
Thank
it.
you, Jamie. Thank you.
Yay,
I-
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie, I definitely loved getting to know you better and knowing you, you know, just like kind of knew you as a parent, but now I know you as a person.
Well,
Another role.
I'll
And
still be around and, happy to help in whatever way I can and see this thing through.
yeah.
Awesome.
Get you some running water, Marianne.
Mhm.
But some running
Great.
water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so
Jamie.
much for your service. Let's stand adjourned for tonight. All right.
So we're going for the 27th.
Yeah,
Okay.
the 27th. Okay. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll make up an agenda.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.